I want to call the September 27, 2023 meeting of the Lake Quinsigamond Commission to order. Just want to let you know that the meeting is being audio and video recorded, so so you'll be able to watch it later. I'm going to review and act on the acceptance of the minutes for August 2023.
Make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we accept the minutes from August 2023.
Second.
Is there a second? A second, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Very good. All right, review and approval of bills and expenses.
We do have some bills.
Uh-oh.
Do you want to vote on them separately? There's three of them, or do
Just
them
tell us
all?
what, yeah, I think we can, tell us what they are. We'll,
Okay, the TRC Environmental, $1,000 for 2-year pilot treatment. Then USA Marina invoice, $2,344.84 for buoys and no wake labels. And the third one is an invoice for $3,553, no cents, for 5 rounds of testing by Alpha Analytical, 4 at $709.50 per round of samples and 1 at $715.
what was the total on that again, Bill, please?
I hadn't added them up yet.
No, just,
Oh, $3,553 and no cents.
okay.
We also have 4 bills from Chase Harris Portable Toilets for the Police Department Boathouse, which we're not paying this month.
Okay, so that's coming next month?
Yep.
All right. So you guys have to go easy, Sean.
Season's over.
All right,
I'll pick it up.
perfect. Good, and that's it?
That's it.
All right, is there any questions or discussion about the bills?
The only discussion I have is that unfortunately, one of the 2 slow no wake zone buoys, in this case, the one that's north of Kings Point, apparently had its, it got replaced, but the light was gone off of the, as well as the first buoy was gone. I see that the buoy's been replaced, but doesn't have a light on it. The other buoy, the light is like half ripped off.
Yeah, people are damaging everything they can,
So
which
it's,
is unfortunate.
yeah. So we may need to,
I have extras that we'll just, I think next season we'll just replace those with the lights, so.
okay, all right.
Okay.
I feel it's unfortunate, but apparently
Yeah.
somebody needed to express their opinion and damage and and destroyed one.
Okay, any other discussion or?
That's it.
All right. I want to circle back around to the destruction part of it in a second after we vote. So is there a motion to accept these bills?
Make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
And is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So voted. Any opposed? No? Luke? Public participation. Anyone sign up, Elise?
Negative.
All right. And then commissioners' reports. I'm going to defer mine until we get down the thing a little bit, so. And no, you know what? I am going to say, because I want to go back to the destruction thing. I think it may be, and we can't vote on this tonight because we didn't put it on the agenda, but I think this may be something we should consider amending the rules of Lake Quinsigamond, that if you are caught tampering or destroying, any type of safety mechanism or buoy or however we define that, that's a violation of the rules and finable or whatever punishment we want to go. So that's something you can figure out at some point, but I think that's probably the direction we should take. The rest of it I'm going to defer. Mr. Pica.
Well, just to reiterate that what you said, it's unfortunate that people need to destroy public property that's meant to, have people conduct themselves safely in terms of boating on the lake, and it happened within virtually days of their placement. And people have to understand, we just want to have everybody be safe. And relative to the dimensions of the lake and the amount of traffic, it's been deemed necessary. So other than that, Mr. Chair, the turbidity of the lake seems to go up and down relative to significant rain events. When it has rained for a few days, the water's clearer. Just an observation. Observation is a lot of waterfowl. I see some of it starting to go south. Other than that, the lake is getting seasonal use relative to the weather and the temperature. As it gets cooler, there's less use. There's more of crew use. When it's raining on the weekend, there's less boat traffic. So right now, that's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Officer Valieri.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate what Mr. Piker said. Officer Amato and I both put out those new buoys at the Narrows. They're brand new. They're very expensive. We put lights on them so people can navigate at nighttime. They're out there for a purpose. People are destroying them. It's just it's not right. You know, these are very expensive. It takes time and money to put these in. So, you know, have respect for the property that we have out there. It's there for a reason, to keep everybody safe and slow everybody down. Like I said, if you do decide, or we all decide as a group to make that a violation, or, you know, a fine for damaging our property out there, then everything is arrestable on the lake. So I would imagine that will be arrestable too if you get caught damaging any of the property out there or safety buoys. So have that in mind as well. Couple other things I have. Myself, Officers Amato and Van Wagner were certified with our new jet ski a couple weeks ago with the environmental police. They brought 2 jet skis down as well as our new jet ski. We went out we had a 2-hour classroom here in the training room, and then we went 3 hours out into the lake, did all sorts of different maneuvers, high speed, low speed, safety maneuvers, navigation of Flint Pond, water rescues, and different types of operation of the different vessels, because we have a newer vessel than the environmental. Ours is mostly electronic and used for, it's going to be used for water safety and rescues on Flint Pond, as well as in conjunction with the police boat next year for enforcement, which I think is going to be a great asset to our fleet here, and great for the lake and trying to crack down on some of the problems that we have out there. So right now it's out of the water. The boat will be going back in emergencies only since Labor Day. I think Mark was going to do a video of the boat and jet ski out back for social media purposes, and then the boat's going back in for emergencies until it gets too cold, and then we'll take that out. There's also a new lift in our boathouse that we'll ride the jet ski onto, and it'll raise up out of the water, so the equipment stays clean, dry, and out of the water for any damage from any large wakes that are coming through the boathouse. That's pretty much all I have, other than, you know, we're coming down at the end of the season. There'll be some races here at the end, and just continue to remind everybody to be safe out there. We've had a successful season, and hopefully we can finish out with a positive note.
All right, thank you. One thing I did want to mention, well, 2 things. One, that Mr. Piker and I had been out in the boat. The Friday night, I think that the 2 buoys were actually damaged. When we went by them, and this is I want to thank you, because they were basically in a perfect position. They were very visible. And they were lined up, and everything was hunky-dory. I think that we went by them the last time, 9:30
Well, and
or so.
addendum, Mr. Chair, if I could, the southern placed one has moved. It's drifted towards Quinsigamond State Park.
Right. Well,
Going south, it's moved about 200 or 300 feet. Yeah, it has. And I'm sure the bottom is kind of tricky, but we'll get better at that, I'm sure, in terms of anchoring them in the future.
It's deeper than you think right there.
Yeah, yeah.
It's difficult too, with the water level rising and lowering,
Sit off the
getting
bottom.
getting that just perfect.
Yeah.
Right. That said, when we went by, those things were right exactly where they're supposed to be, and it,
Good.
looked like it was gonna be effective. And, it's a shame, again, that, people have to mess with them. The other thing I wanted to bring up too is that during the races, because it's a head race, the fall race is a head race, is that, in a meeting with the QRA, a coach's safety meeting with the QRA, they did indicate that they wanted to temporarily move those buoys out of the way,
That's fine.
so they can go, and also, I believe the one in front of Lake Park, which they assured me that they will put those back
Patrick, do you want to let me know,
expediently.
when do you want me to move those ASAP?
It'd just be just a couple of days before the race.
When's that it's coming up?
First race is the seventh.
Okay, I'll move them aside this week, so they're out of the way.
Okay, thank you.
Great. All right. Thank you. Moving on. Sergeant Garman's not here. Mr. Polito.
It's a couple of things. Shrewsbury Conservation issued orders of condition to remove a fallen tree from the lake and to rebuild several walls along the shore. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Say several walls or just a couple of walls?
Several.
Several. Thank you. Okay. Our new Grafton rep isn't here.
Amanda?
Amanda.
I'm sorry, I haven't got a report.
All right, no worries. Mr. Nelson.
I just, one thing, the rowing on the lake is dependent, of course, on the cold and the rain, and I've noticed that it follows it. In particular, I'd just like to mention, I was very happy to see today when the fog was so bad that you really couldn't see across the lake from the DRC. And I was very pleasantly pleased to see all the college crews and all the boat club crews waiting, including some of them missed their first hour turn because they weren't going out when it wasn't supposed to be legal to go out. And so that really impressed me.
Okay. I'm happy to hear that, actually. Just as a side note, I did get a complaint that that a crew boat and the no-wake coach launch was violating the no-wake zone at Kings Point. And they said that they were going 10.5 miles an hour. I'm not sure how they actually determined they were going 10.5 miles an hour, but it was there, and they gave me a static picture, so it was hard to, I didn't see it wake, so I didn't really pursue it, but it was, you gotta tell your rowers to slow down out there, okay? Get crazy. All right. Anyway, moving on. So that's it for reports, yes? All right, so item 7 is discuss and possibly vote on scheduling a hearing regarding jet skis on Lake Quinsigamond. So this is coming about basically because it's just been a problem, as you know. Last month we kind of went over it and beat it to death. But everyone knows, everyone who lives on the lake understands that everyone is affected by it. And it's a lake-wide problem. It's not just in one area. We have some concentrations in different areas, but it's all over the place, and it tends to shift and move around from season to season, or even from within the season, from weekend to weekend. The last couple of weeks have started to slow down a little bit. Basically, last weekend was a wash, so I'm sure that's one of the reasons that there was no not a lot of jet skis out there. There were jet skis out there. I think as the season starts to wane, that we probably won't have a bunch of real big issues. That said, that if a weekend comes up before we draw down and, it becomes 80 degrees out or 75 degrees out, it comes warm, I believe that they'll probably come back for one last hurrah. That all said, we still know what happens during the season, and we've been unable to police it as well as we would like to be able to do it. There's no blame. I'm not pointing fingers or blaming law enforcement, certainly, because it's just overwhelming. It's just a wave after wave after wave. And I've noticed that even when Shrewsbury, for example, enforces, and asks, people to removes people from Oak Island, the next weekend they're back. So it's just like no one's learning this. The same thing happened at Browning Beach. Browning Beach, they put Jersey barriers up, and they literally carry the jet skis over the Jersey barriers. So it seems like nothing can stop it. I know that Indian Lake, went for a ban. I'm not a fan of the ban, not to be a poet, but just because it's not always that effective. However, we said last meeting we're going to form a subcommittee, and we still are kind of working on that, but that is going to happen, and I would like to move this forward on the agenda next month. I don't know if I really have to go for a vote to have a hearing, but I am going to push this in front of the other members for any comments or thoughts that they may have regarding holding a hearing to determine what we're going to do with the jet skis based on the recommendations we have from the subcommittee. So, and that could be anything from education, like Mr. Nelson pointed out, to having some type of hourly setup where, you can use jet skis and you can't use jet skis, or some kind of a quiet time type thing, which has been put forward as a proposal, and all the way down to literally banning them from Lake Quinsigamond until we can figure out something maybe at the state level of how to more thoroughly educate people on how to drive properly on the lake. And jet skis are one issue. Jet skis are not always the only problem. We've seen comments from law enforcement that said, at one point, well, all the people we gave tickets to this past weekend were from out of town and they were on a jet ski. And I think the next meeting we had, they said prior to that, the tickets that they gave were not from out of town and they weren't jet skis. So, we have an internal we have internal issues as well, which we always will have and always have had here in Lake Quinsigamond. In fact, the reason that we've had safety concerns in Lake Quinsigamond is the reason there is a Lake Quinsigamond Commission. That's the reason they formed this commission in 1916, was because of back then there were no laws. There was no Chapter 90B. There was none of that stuff. So no one knew how to, and motorboats were brand new, so no one knew how to operate them properly and safely. So it was dangerous and people were getting hurt. So we don't want to, and we've been fortunate, knock on wood, that we haven't had any serious injury on Lake Quinsigamond regarding these safety issues. So, and not saying that to jinx us, but I don't want to I don't want to address this after it happens. I'd rather get this worked out beforehand, in an abundance of caution. I would, if I were in the public, I would definitely reach out and to your state reps, and I know that some people from Flint Pond, for example, have done a very effective job doing that. And there's meetings going on between the state reps and some of the law enforcement that we're trying to get scheduled right now. But I truly believe that from an education standpoint, it needs to be statewide, and we probably should go with some type of license or certificate of learning, or whatever you want to call it, similar to what Connecticut and New Hampshire and I believe Maine has at this point, and a bunch of states around the United States that educate people how to drive a boat. I think I've said this before. In 1916, also automobiles were pretty new. They figured out pretty quick, though, in the automobile side of it that, you kind of need rules, stop signs, lines across the road and things like that. For some reason, that never really happened on the boating side of it. So we need to be, they made rules, they just didn't require people to learn them and hold a permit to drive. So that's probably what it would go a long way to curb these problems. And it would also give law enforcement some better options as far as, enforcement of the law, that if they stop the jet ski person right now and they give them a warning and the jet ski person says, okay, and goes off, often they will go to another part of the lake and continue the same behavior. If you stop the same person today, especially people who are renting the jet skis, because that's happening out there, and they didn't have a license, that's easy. You got to go now. So I think that would help out. But, for those reasons, I really think it's prudent on our part as a commission to deal with this, and so that it will give us the winter to solidify it, because anything we add to the rules, we have to pass through the state. So, is there any discussion?
Mr.
Mr.
Chair?
Spiker?
I really don't want to, at this moment, get into my position as a commissioner, and I do have observations and feelings about this, but I would recommend to move this issue forward, and that is, if it's going to be October 25th this year, next month, in this room, if someone has feelings about the use of jet skis on Lake Quinsigamond, I would say let's have a hearing, but be here, be there. If it's there being, if it's not here, the town hall, in terms of the meeting. I am the recipient of a lot of, as I'm sure the chairman and other commissioners are, opinions about the use of jet skis, but, I just don't want to hear them on the phone. I just don't want them text to me. People should show up, give their name and address, and give their opinions about it, pro or against. And I think we need to get us a sentiment of the people who are impacted by jet skis as to how they feel about it in terms of the continued use on Lake Quinsigamond. And I, for one, would recommend, let's have a public hearing on this. Let's have people come forward and talk about how they feel about it, so we can also get a sense of what the general sentiment is. And thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me just leave it at that for now.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
I would just like to say I do agree. I think we should have a meeting, hearing on the jet skis. They've become more and more aggressive, I could say, but I think it's good to talk and discuss the next step.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Nothing to say other than I wholeheartedly agree with everything that's been said. So I just don't want to repeat it.
All right, thank you. All right,
I would just like to add that it's not the jet ski itself that's the problem, it's the behavior of the individual on the jet ski. So this is a behavioral issue. I've said it many, many times. And what we really need to do is address the fact that we've got people who are bad actors out there.
I agree with that, and it's a very good point. I guess that my concern that in the meantime, because we've been recommending that for 3 seasons at least now. I mean, it's been an issue since I was a kid. It was since the jet skis first came out, so it was actually after I was a kid. But, it hasn't gone away. So I don't want to leave this, the acute issue, and the acute issue is the safety of everyone on here. I don't want to push that to the side, waiting for someone to do that, which is why I recommend that, I totally agree that it is the operator is the issue, and that I believe that that's why we should have some type of boat license or something like that. That's a whole nother issue, and that itself has been in front of the legislature. I'm going to say the bills that I know about is probably 6 or 7 different ones.
I think that boat license ought to include a fairly substantial boat education process.
Oh, no, you're going to have to take it, just like a car. You have to go through a education process, and this is how I would envision it. A lot of it's in place. I mean, if you go on to the the Mass Environmental Police website, they have an entire training course for Massachusetts. So New Hampshire already has one. I took that, and New Hampshire doesn't mess around. You get caught up there without it, it's a $100 fine, and you got to take the class, and it's $100 for that too. Well, that was 3 years ago. So, so that's a, you know, I totally agree that it is an educational issue. It typically always is, but in the meantime, we have a problem, you know, that we can't seem to corral, for lack of a better term. We've corralled them a little bit in Flint Pond, but that's not the solution, because it's just moving the problem down there. And that's exactly what happened when the city, you know, banned them in Indian Lake. It moved the problem here. And there has been comments from law enforcement that it was worse this year after the ban. So, you know.
Well, I see it as an issue of lack of consequence.
Right. Well, again, you know, I'm going to, my feeling with law enforcement is that the people that they've been able to contact with when they're having problems out there have been consequences. They've and correct me if I'm wrong, but they have basically escorted numerous people off the lake with jet skis. They've prevented numerous people from even getting into the lake on, you know, at the boat ramps. They've cleared out Oak Island numerous times, and they just keep coming back. You know, it's just so, and it's not really because we don't have a ban. We can't say we can't put your jet ski in there, because we, you know, they have a boat operator has, you know, certain rights through fishing and boating access in the state. So, you know, without some type of you know, specific ruling that particular type of vessel can't get on there. Again, you know, this is something we can discuss at the hearing, but, you know, there's always the possibility that these people will turn around and buy a boat. And I think the myth that someone says that, well, you know, they can't afford boats. I don't know if anyone's tried to buy a brand new jet ski. I shudder to think how much you spent for the one we had you know, for the police. They're not inexpensive. So, and then the equipment these guys are riding on too were a high end, fast, nice, 3-seaters, really kick butt sound systems on them, so everyone in the lake can hear them. So it's an issue. So that's basically what I'm trying to do at this point, is to deal with the acute part of it.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Is everyone ready?
I'd like to make a motion that at the October meeting, 2023, that we have a discussion in terms of the use of personal watercraft on Lake Quinsigamond. And at that point, we can hear the public's input, and then we can all give ours, and then go from there in terms of a determination. Thank you,
All
Mr.
right.
Chair.
Thank you.
That's a public meeting for the October meeting.
Correct. Public hearing. Yep.
Second.
You got a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Any opposed? Abstained? So voted. All right. Update on lake management on Quinsigamond. The drawdown.
I could not find an up-to-date permit.
Okay,
Looked through my file, so I don't know.
that's a problem. But we have a permit. We have a permit for. I saw a permit for the lake management part of it.
Yes.
The lake management plan.
Just updated when we added the fluorescent something or other.
All right. So
That was an extension as well as an addition of the.
it was an extension as well as an addition. So that's why I was confused, and I thought, oops, I'm sorry.
I don't think, since that was just pesticide application for the pond, it wasn't in the same permit. So that, the permit that you just updated a few months ago was just for lake management in terms of adding pesticides to it. So that's been extended for several years.
Right, under the whole COVID rule thing.
Also, when we updated it to add that new pesticide
Okay,
in June or whatever,
right.
there was an extension added to it.
extension out to the blanket permit.
Yes.
Okay, so that's my point. I read through Grafton's and Worcester's, and what it states, when I read it was, the Lake Quinsigamond management plan as defined by the application that we did. So I think that, I'm pretty sure that the drawdown is in there, is defined in there. Because that's exactly what the other two are like. And we kind of boilerplated it. So I think that's what the thing, but that's the confusion why I thought we had it done and we didn't have it done. When you brought that up, I go, well, wait a minute, maybe she's right about this, because,
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it
Yeah.
covered the drawdowns as
Right.
well as the pesticide application.
one of the, it was part of the whole management plan, and the drawdown was there. When we changed that around in 2018, so we added a bunch, because the original order of conditions we had just included one chemical. It included diquat. And, we figured out that this was mostly in Flint Pond, and we killed off, and diquat is effective on Eurasian milfoil, which we did a good job of eradicating in Flint Pond. But when we did that, it opened it up so another plant could take over, because there was no competition. So we got fanwort, and diquat didn't do anything to fanwort. So when we came up with a new management plan, we said, well, let's add on as many products that make sense for us, or as many, say, tools in the shed that we can use, including So, moving on to, we got the drawdown. That's the thing with the drawdown. The drawdown, I haven't confirmed this with the DCR dam folks yet, but typically we shoot for November, on or about November 1st, to start bringing the lake down. So plan on that. It's going to be sometime in the beginning of November to get it all down, and so that we're prepared. We also want to give wildlife a chance to adjust to the water level going down. And B through E, 8B through 8E, is basically no action this month. And that brings us to number 9. Nick Pagan, come on down. I think, yeah, you have your little red light mic. I like the red lights. I like that we know we're actually on mic.
Sure, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm Nick Pagan, an environmental analyst from the City of Worcester Department of Sustainability and Resilience in the Lakes and Ponds program. We do water quality monitoring, assist with management and outreach on Lake Quinsigamond. And I'm going to talk about some of our recent water quality results and talk about some of the stuff we have going on the lake. So the swimming season at the Regatta Point and Lake Quinsigamond State Park or Lake Park Beach have come to a close. So that testing is over. Surface temperature on the lake has begun to go down considerably. We're now in the zone that is good for cold water fish in the surface of the lake. Our last reading was on, it was 2 days ago on Tuesday, yesterday, it was yesterday, 18.3 degrees Celsius as an average for our surface temperature, which is looking really nice for this time of year. Surface dissolved oxygen has continued to be high over the course of the season, as we expect, although I'm going to talk a little bit about the stratification that we've seen in the water column over the course of the season. Total phosphorus on the surface of the lake has remained low, although we know that nutrients do migrate to the bottom of the lake as it stratifies. Those numbers have gone up a little bit over the course of the season, but not considerably. However, nutrient conditions will be different in every part of the lake, especially depending on the condition of tributaries and rainwater. We know that this has been a big year for runoff in the system, and it's hard to monitor every single area for nutrients. But in the middle of the lake, those numbers have continued to be relatively low. Clarity on yesterday was on the lower side for this time of year, about 5.25 feet. We are getting into the time of the season where we'll start to see the lake turn over, where we usually see lower clarity. This is a little bit early for it to drop to that level, so we're keeping an eye on it. There's likely increased algal growth due to all these rain events, and we have seen it, kind of consistently, slowly dropping over the course of the season. So it'll be interesting to see what it looks like, kind of taking a step back at the end of the year. But that is kind of the trend that we've seen, and it will likely continue to be lower until the turnover is over. For the depth profiles in the lake, it is so for temperature and dissolved oxygen, it is pretty much fully stratified at this moment. Below 20 feet, there's basically no oxygen. That is what we tend to see at this time of year. That's very normal. As temperatures go down on the surface of the lake, we'll likely see more mixing of the water in the water column, which will, bring nutrients up from the bottom, and we'll see oxygen moving down into the deeper depths. So that is relatively expected, but we are in a fully stratified state right now. As for the Worcester Cyanobacteria Monitoring Collaborative, we take samples out on Lake Quinsigamond twice a month. Now these results are, they're not used for assessing, officially assessing, access to the lake. They're not DEP approved, but we can use them as a general indicator of the cyanobacteria activity on the lake. It did, in Lake Quinsigamond, the results did go up from the last time, showing that the amount of cyanobacteria is elevated, although not at a concerning level yet. It is likely that in the fall, as the lake turns over, we will see more cyanobacteria growth, as we have seen in the past. I know in years past we've even seen cyanobacteria blooms under the ice. So that's something for folks to keep an eye on. And I do have in the news and resources section of this sheet, which I will see if we can share, there's a link to a form that we have so that residents can send in any reports of algal scums that they might think are cyanobacteria. Because it's a large lake and it's hard for us to keep an eye on the whole thing, as we all know. So moving on to just commenting on the milfoil treatment that you were just talking about. I got word back from the contractor that they did a post-treatment survey, and I'm awaiting their report on that, but I can share that when I get it. I've heard some anecdotal reports that it looks like a lot of it was addressed, and I was out there a little while ago, a couple weeks ago, and I did see a reduction in the number of plants, but I'm curious to see. I wasn't able to look at the whole area, so I'm curious to see what they report. So my last thing is on Sunday through the Facebook group, I was made aware that there was some dead fish found on the western shore of the lake, between the outfall, the Route 9 outfall, kind of down south from there. On Monday, we went out to take a look, and we found that they were, I think, exclusively yellow perch, and they were found between the outfall behind Ramshorn Island and the little marina by Midolka's Ice Cream. After looking at them in the boat, it appeared that they were accumulated around docks, likely blown by the wind and carried by the current. So they were not consistently along the shoreline. What we're seeing were large accumulations. And we took a number of water quality parameters around there. We did depth profiles, both behind Ramshorn Island and in the area, further south, kind of near the end of the range that the fish were seen. And we did not see any dissolved oxygen depletion, which was, the main thing we thought might have caused it. We were not able to find any potential causes. It's likely that it has something to do with the outfall, but at this point we're not sure how to determine what might have happened. It's likely that it was a kind of an isolated event. Yeah.
Were you able to collect any of the fish and do a toxicity sampling on their tissue?
No, that's not something that we have capabilities for. We could, potentially look into it. I don't know if the fish are, in too much of a state of decomposition to do that at this point. But that's not something that we were able to do.
Maybe it's something that we can do in the future if it happens again.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can look into a potential for that.
I could comment, last week, I counted, and out, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings, passing a good number of them all the way between the 290 bridge to the Burns Bridge. They were all yellow perch. They were all approximately 5 inches long. Mm-hmm. And that makes sense since they, each year's sort of class travels together in a large school. But they were spread out quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Was this on which end of the lake, or
between
the east
the
or
Burns
west
Bridge
side?
and 290. And particularly, I saw most of them when I was going down along the Worcester side, but
Okay.
that was 100 to 200 meters out into the lake, almost
Wow.
in the middle.
Okay, that's good to know.
That was this past Monday?
So
Last week,
Last Monday, a week ago.
yeah.
yeah, we were only made aware of this on this last Sunday,
Right, yeah,
so
it hit
it's good
Facebook.
to know that
Yeah.
it was
I would say Wednesday and Friday were probably, I saw more than
Okay.
Monday.
okay. We'll continue to keep our eyes out for this situation, and figure out what we can do to better understand what's going on.
Right.
But more to come on that for sure.
That's curious. If what Bill is saying is true, then it's likely that the Belmont Street outfall would not be the only cause of it.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, there's outfalls all along both shores, so who knows? But if it happened down there, it's curious to me also it's all one species, which is kind of weird. But
Yeah. And really, at this point, we can't.
is that typical in a fish kill? Would it be like one species?
I personally don't have a lot of experience with fish kills, but something we're continuing to do research on.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
And we can't say with any confidence at this point that we know where it's
What it
where it's coming from or why it happened, but something that we're definitely keeping
Keep an eye on
a
it.
close eye on.
Yeah, so we can keep an eye on it now and figure out that if you see them, maybe we should be looking north of more than we are. Because, lake flows down there, so I'm doubtful that, that it went that way, that they drifted down to 290 from Ramshorn.
Do we have a sense of what percentage of the total population of perch that fish kill represented?
Did any of them respond to the survey? The consensus? The census, rather?
I would imagine just anecdotally that it would be a small proportion because they're a very pervasive fish. But I obviously don't have a solid sense of how many were killed. So that is purely anecdotal.
All right. All right.
All right. That's it for me.
Good. Nick,
Unless
hey,
anybody
thank you.
has
Good
anything
job.
else. Thank you so much.
All right. So next on our list here is communication from the Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association. And Barbara could not be here, a representative could not be here from them. But she did send in a communication, and basically it was about the fish kill. So, just to say that's kind of come up, and there was some. At the time she wrote this, what she knew that they thought it was maybe a dissolved oxygen issue, but we just found out that that's probably not the case. So that was a report from those folks. And just want to review some correspondence that we got over the thing. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but we got correspondence, and I really appreciate this, by the way, Amanda, the job that the planning board and the watershed and you coming to kind of keep us abreast of this stuff. I'm on the listserv or whatever you call it, so I get all that. But there's some developments. I got a thing from the planning board that there's some development proposed for 273 Lake Ave. I think that's regular Lake Ave. I believe there's also a project. Oh no, wait, this is Lake Ave North, right? There's also a project that's, they're looking for conservation on 275, I believe. So, sorry, 175, so that stuff's coming. And there was some notice of intent filed for 265 Lake Ave and also 255 Lake Ave, which I believe are addressing some of the issues that they had there.
Those are the ones that are addressing
The reclamation thing and.
they had
The re-reclamation.
kind of gone against
Right.
regulation and clear-cut their slopes.
Which you updated us with last month, so, all right, thank you. So that's, that we got numerous emails and, which I thought was a very good job of detailing and kind of documenting the issues at Flint Pond, including, a presentation of different photographs and videos of whatnot of the actual action out there. I'd asked those folks that we could reserve that for next month if, for a hearing, because I thought that would be a more appropriate place to present that. So, because we can get it all kind of in one bundle and figure things out. So that's, also, we will review that with the people in the subcommittee as well. So that's that part of it.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure, of course.
Will we have some way that we can possibly at the next month show some of that video to the people who aren't present, or even those that are present, but as well as on?
Good question. What we really want to be able to do is, we can show them to the people that are present because we're here, but, we
Yeah, but
want
the
to
video
show
is-
them, we want to show them at home. So part of the broadcast and recording, we're working on the tech to do that in this facility, in this room here. We have that next door, but, so we are working on it and to get it in this room, so we're hoping to get it done. So that's something that's my other hat.
I just thought maybe if I could talk to the committee after to discuss that, unless, I don't want to take up the committee's time now.
All right, thank you. All right.
Just explain who you plan to have in the committee, just for the record.
Oh, thank you. So, what the plan for the committee would be is, members from, the Lake Quinsigamond Commission, okay? And right now, it's Mr. Nelson, myself. I don't know if, did you decide to?
They're part of the subcommittee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and Mr. Pica, I don't want to have the full commission do it, because that kind of defeats the sub part of it, but also, we're going to need, I would request that we have the members from law enforcement from both Worcester and Shrewsbury. I'm going to reach out to Captain, Lieutenant Palmer, but the captain at the, I'm having a, what's that? No, at Mass Environmental. Thank you, Captain Amati. Scott, sorry if I had a senior moment here. So, and see if he wants to participate as well. I think, their input is invaluable. So, and then I'm asking for two, which I think we have. That's one of the reasons we would, had a scheduling issue here with this stuff, but two members from the community as well. So.
Do you want to make a vote, just for the record, to say at least 2 commission members, law enforcement, and 2 from the residents? Or do you just want to abstain for the record? I'll just put it on here.
Yeah, I mean, we could do that if you like. Well, we didn't put on the agenda, we were going to vote on it, so,
So I'll just mark it
all right,
as your commissioner report.
all right, thank you.
Question?
Yes,
Is there an opportunity for additional community members who, say, for example, live on Flint Pond to be on the committee?
well, do you have a community member that lives on Flint Pond that's going to be on?
It's you, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Just checking.
so,
All right.
so you lucked out on that. And our next meeting is October 25, yes?
Yes, in here,
At this
Here?
facility.
in here.
By the way, I don't know how much you guys can see this room here, but this is really nice in here, so I'm excited. I got all the new fancy stuff and plenty of room, and everyone can see us, so that's good. And that said, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll
So
make a
moved.
motion to adjourn.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 We've got the second in just in time. Thank you.